On August 8, 2025, a single gunshot shattered the night in Georgia and thrust the Frost family from love and hip-hop Atlanta into the center of a murder investigation that would expose dark secrets, family loyalty, and a deadly confrontation that nobody saw coming. What started as another night in the life of Kirk Frost's children quickly spiraled into headlines about domestic violence, protective brothers, and a rapper named T-Hood who wouldn't live to see another sunrise. The police investigation that followed would reveal disturbing evidence that completely changed how everyone viewed this tragic night. But the question remains, was this cold-blooded murder or a desperate act of protection that went too far? The answers lie buried in cell phone videos, witness statements, and a family's desperate attempt to protect one of their own from a relationship that had already turned dangerous. And real quick, if you like getting the unfiltered side of hip-hop drama, make sure you hit subscribe. You won't want to miss what's next. The 911 call came in just after midnight on August 8th. Shots fired at a residence in Georgia, where 27-year-old rapper Tevin Hood, known as T-Hood, lay bleeding from a single gunshot wound to the chest. First responders rushed to the scene, but it was already too late. T-Hood was pronounced dead before paramedics could even attempt to save his life. Police immediately secured the area and began questioning witnesses. But what they found wasn't your typical drive-by or random violence. This was personal, and it happened inside T-Hood's own home during what neighbors described as a heated argument that had been escalating for hours. The initial police report was sparse. One victim, one shooter, and a house full of people who suddenly couldn't remember exactly what they'd witnessed. But as detectives dug deeper into that chaotic night, they discovered that this wasn't just another street beef gone wrong. The shooter had a direct connection to the victim that would send shockwaves through the love and hip-hop community and turn a simple homicide case into something much more complicated. T-Hood wasn't just another Atlanta rapper trying to make it big. He was dating Kelsey Frost, the daughter of love and hip-hop Atlanta stars Kirk and Rashida Frost. The relationship had been going on for several months, but the family had kept it relatively quiet, away from the reality TV cameras and social media drama that usually follows the Frost name. Kirk Frost, known for his controversial past and tumultuous relationship with wife Rashida, had built a reputation as a protective father who didn't play when it came to his children. T-Hood seemed to understand this dynamic, frequently posting respectful messages about the family on his social media and appearing to genuinely care about Kelsey's well-being. But behind the scenes, sources close to the family say there were already red flags that had Kirk and Rashida concerned about their daughter's new relationship. The couple had seen T-Hood's temper firsthand during family gatherings, and Rashida had reportedly expressed concerns to close friends about bruises she'd noticed on Kelsey. What made this tragedy even more shocking was the person police named as their primary suspect, Kirk Frost, Kirk's 24-year-old son and Kelsey's protective older brother, who had apparently reached his breaking point that fatal night. Within 48 hours of the shooting, police had zeroed in on their prime suspect, Kirk Frost, Kirk's eldest son, who had been fiercely protective of his younger sister since childhood. Witnesses at the scene identified Kirk as the shooter, but what they told police painted a picture that was far from black and white. According to multiple accounts, Kirk had arrived at T-Hood's house that night after receiving frantic text messages from Kelsey, who was reportedly being physically assaulted by her boyfriend during another one of their explosive arguments. Security footage from nearby businesses shows Kirk's car speeding through the neighborhood just minutes before the fatal shot was fired, suggesting this wasn't a premeditated attack, but rather a brother rushing to help his sister in distress. Police sources reveal that Kirk immediately surrendered to authorities and has been cooperating fully with the investigation, even providing his phone to show the desperate messages he'd received from Kelsey that night. What makes this case particularly complex is that Kirk isn't claiming innocence. He's claiming justification. His legal team is preparing a self-defense argument based on what they say is overwhelming evidence that T-Hood posed an immediate threat to Kelsey's life, and that Kirk's actions that night saved his sister from potentially becoming another domestic violence statistic. The evidence that would change everything came from Kelsey's own phone. Hours of recorded footage that painted a horrifying picture of what was really happening behind closed doors. Police recovered multiple videos showing T-Hood verbally and physically abusing Kelsey during their relationship, with some incidents occurring just days before his death. The footage, which investigators say is too disturbing to release publicly, allegedly shows T. Hood slapping Kelsey, grabbing her by the throat, and threatening her life during heated arguments about everything from social media posts to her family's money. Friends close to Kelsey reveal that she had been secretly documenting the abuse for weeks, possibly building a case to leave the relationship safely or to show her family just how dangerous T. Hood had become. The most damning piece of evidence is a video from the night of the shooting itself, recorded on Kelsey's phone just minutes before Kai arrived. Sources familiar with the investigation say this final recording shows T. Hood in an uncontrollable rage, physically assaulting Kelsey while making threats that convinced prosecutors this case might not be as straightforward as initially believed. What's particularly chilling is that these weren't isolated incidents. The pattern of abuse had been escalating for months, and Kelsey's family had been growing increasingly worried about her safety. The investigation took a dramatic turn when witnesses began corroborating Kai's version of events, painting a picture of a brother who walked into a life-or-death situation. According to police reports, at least 3 people present that night testified that T. Hood was actively choking Kelsey when Kai burst through the front door, and that the rapper refused to let her go even when confronted. Witness statements reveal that Kai initially tried to de-escalate the situation, demanding that T. Hood release his sister. But T. Hood allegedly responded by tightening his grip on Kelsey's throat while reaching for what appeared to be a weapon. One witness told investigators that Kelsey was turning blue and making choking sounds when the fatal shot was fired, suggesting that Kai may have had only seconds to act before his sister suffered permanent harm or death. The Georgia Bureau of Investigation has confirmed they're treating this as a potential justifiable homicide case, particularly after forensic evidence supported the witnesses' accounts of the struggle. Crime scene analysis shows that T. Hood was shot at close range while his hands were positioned around Kelsey's neck area, and defensive wounds on his arms suggest there was indeed a physical altercation before the shooting. But what really strengthened Kai's self-defense claims was the discovery that T. Hood had been arrested twice in the past year for domestic violence against previous girlfriends, a pattern that prosecutors say adds credibility to the family's fears about Kelsey's safety. Within hours of the news breaking, social media erupted with wild conspiracy theories that painted Kelsey as a master manipulator who orchestrated her boyfriend's murder. Twitter and Instagram became battlegrounds where users accused her of setting up T. Hood, claiming she used her brother as a weapon to eliminate an unwanted relationship. The hashtag #KelseySetup began trending, with armchair detectives piecing together supposed evidence from old social media posts and claiming the entire domestic violence story was fabricated. Some users even suggested that Kirk Frost had paid to have T. Hood eliminated because he disapproved of the relationship, turning the tragedy into a twisted reality TV storyline. Kelsey broke her silence 3 days after the shooting with an emotional Instagram live session, tears streaming down her face as she denied every conspiracy theory and showed the bruises still visible on her neck and arms. She revealed that she'd been hiding the abuse from most of her family for months, too ashamed and scared to admit what was happening behind closed doors. Kirk and Rashida also went into full protective mode, with Kirk posting a lengthy statement defending both his children and threatening legal action against anyone spreading false narratives about his family. But the online mob wasn't satisfied with explanations. They wanted drama, and they began attacking Kelsey's character while completely ignoring the mounting evidence of T. Hood's violent behavior. As of now, a Georgia Bureau of Investigation has compiled what legal experts are calling one of the strongest self-defense cases they've seen in recent years. The evidence supporting Kai's actions continues to mount, from the disturbing video footage on Kelsey's phone to witness testimonies that all corroborate the same story of a protective brother saving his sister's life. Forensic analysis has confirmed that T. Hood's fingerprints were found on Kelsey's throat area, and medical examinations documented injuries consistent with strangulation attempts. Perhaps most significantly, investigators discovered that T. Hood had been texting threats to Kelsey's family members earlier that day, including messages saying he would make her disappear if she tried to leave him. The district attorney's office has indicated they're leaning toward not filing murder charges against Kai, instead considering whether any charges are warranted at all given the circumstances. Legal analysts predict that if charges are filed, they would likely be reduced to manslaughter with a plea deal that includes probation. Considering the overwhelming evidence of domestic violence and imminent threat, the final decision is expected within the next few weeks. But sources close to the investigation say the physical evidence and witness statements have created a compelling case that Kai acted to save his sister's life. What started as a potential murder case has transformed into a tragic example of how domestic violence can spiral into deadly consequences, leaving one family forever changed and another young man dead.